Divorce Egyptian Style is the third episode of the second season of Good Advice. This is directed by Robby Benson, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And it's a really good episode. Starts off with Susan and a client, and the woman is in a relationship with her cat, and it was adorable. And honestly, I can relate. If my cat started to be distant with me, I would try and seek professional help as well. The main narrative focuses on the fact that Susan is going to Vegas to sign the divorce papers, and she could have done it by post, but she wants to go in person because she wants to look at Joey one last time, which I think would be really good for her to give her that final bit of closure. And Paige convinces her to let her drive her there with the top down on the car, and they arrive there at this Egyptian themed hotel, and Susan is very disheveled, but I have to say I love her hair. And Jack turns up. He wants to be there to support Susan, but also because he is a divorce lawyer, he wants to make sure everything is definitely not working against Susan. And then Joey comes up with Susan looking rather messy, and they're alone together in the hotel room. And Joey, and I think this was very unpredictable, Joey asks Susan to marry him. They're in Vegas, let's get married instead of getting divorced. And Susan doesn't have much time to think of this in any detail because Joey kisses her, and she kisses him back. Needless to say, she's very confused. And this is really frustrating. For the episode, it worked really well, but it's very frustrating because I feel like Susan was reaching a point where she was really starting to heal, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. But for Joey to then come along and mess with her feelings again is completely unacceptable. You don't get to cheat and mess around. And then he was the one who filed the divorce papers and really mess with her emotions and then ultimately try and win her back just as she's piecing her life back together. It's a really disgusting thing to do. And if I didn't like Joey before, I certainly wouldn't like him now. Paige tries to talk to Susan about this, and she basically says they'll let the slot machine decide, which is a way of bringing the Vegas element into it, because honestly, other than that, it's not really there very much. And Susan does end up meeting with Joey, and she's wearing a beautiful dress. I'm not 100% sure why she took that dress with her to Vegas just to sign divorce papers, unless maybe she bought it before meeting with Joey. But either way, she looks absolutely gorgeous. And she decides that Joey will have a test, and if he passes the test, she will consider getting back together with him. I'll be honest, I don't agree with this test because I feel like it would be very, very difficult, and I don't think it would mean anything. She tells him that throughout the duration of their conversation in the bar, he's not allowed to even look at another woman. And I feel like Susan was really setting him up because there's an exotic dancer basically right next to them, and Susan keeps giving money to this dancer, and obviously when she's turning around to look at the dancer, I feel like just instinctively Joey would want to turn his head. If you're with somebody and they turn to look at something, I feel like it's just natural to look without thinking. So yes, Joey has to work really hard at this, but I feel like which ultimately he does end up looking at the dancer, but I feel like even if he did just turn his head slightly, it would be a reflex. It wouldn't be really fair to blame him. So honestly, I don't love this test, but I'm wondering, and this is just my opinion, if anybody feels the same way or otherwise, feel free to let me know, but I'm wondering if Susan knew that that test would be basically impossible, and that's why she was giving money to the dancer and basically almost encouraging Joey to look at her. I wonder if she wanted an out. I wonder if she wanted to prove that he couldn't do this. And it was just a way of her telling herself that he hasn't changed. Because I think she knows deep down he hasn't changed. So I don't know. I don't think the test was fair, but I think maybe Susan knew that and she just wanted to see for herself or prove to herself that Joey hadn't changed. And he tells her he's not the same person anymore. And she says the same thing. She says she's not the same person anymore, which I think is very true. I think over the last season and the beginning of this season, we've really been able to watch her grow and work through these emotions, and it was a really lovely way to end it. Well, we end with Paige and the slot machines, but For Susan, I think it was a really great way to end this episode. And I'm assuming now that that means going forward, there won't be much focus on her divorce. That's not to say there won't be times when it's emotional for her or when the pain will come back to her, but I'm assuming this means we're kind of drawing a line under it. And if that's the case, I actually feel like this would have been a great finale for season one. I think this would have been a great way to end that season, particularly as that's quite a short season. But either way, I thought Divorce Egyptian Style was a really fun episode. It has a lot to offer. Susan was brilliant. As always, Shelley Long gave a perfect performance. And I can't wait to watch the rest of the season.